driving at all.
I know, but I'm driving, so I catch you. I'll be listening to you guys. All right.
You got it. You got it. So hello, everybody. We've got a few minutes here before we get started. Let's hear where people are calling in from. Like to hear it.
Norway.
Hello, Norway. It actually, with our Zinzino background, it does look like the Norway background.
Good.
Ontario, Canada.
Welcome, welcome. Anybody
Exotic
else?
Elko, Minnesota.
Minnesota. Welcome.
New York.
New York. Hello. Evelyn, are you going to say where you're calling in from?
Gichas from Denmark. Hello, Carla.
Denmark.
From Denmark. Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Norway.
Hello, Norway. Yes, we can see also your beautiful background. It has those, almost all of the Zinzino virtual pictures are as beautiful as that, but I think Norway is about as beautiful as that one. Yeah.
Chicago.
Yes, it is.
Hello, Chicago. I heard BB's voice.
That's right.
You must be driving too.
I am.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm glad people tune in even though they are driving. We've got about 30 seconds here. If anybody also, we have a lot of people without their cameras on, so a lot of people must be busy doing things. But if you can, turn your camera on, and if you would like to unmute yourself, go ahead and tell us where you're calling in from.
Sunny Florida.
Hello, Florida.
Hello, hello.
Wonderful.
I was busy this morning reviewing the fabulous report on earnings.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
we love it.
This company is heading to the moon.
Moon and back. That's what we're going to call it.
I'm calling from Sweden.
Hello, Sweden.
Hello, but I have no electricity, so it's very dark.
I see that.
Yes.
But that's definitely commitment.
Yes.
But you are no electricity out there. It's all dark and we're still on our call.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, it is a minute past the hour now, so we are still letting people in, but we are going to get started. I always need to mute people because sometimes that background noise can be a little bit difficult. But I do want to get started and say welcome to everybody here on our Wednesday call. Now, every week we do enjoy to learn something new, whether it's part about building the business or maybe something new about products. Zinzino has been growing so rapidly with so many different companies, and we've had a lot of them on recently to learn more about their company and their journey here to Zinzino. But one thing we have also had is other direct sellers who have been building other companies and are after 20, 25, 30, 35 years joining Zinzino. My guest today is one that I have heard his name for years. I knew when he started because I had even Art Jonah going, oh, this guy is starting in Zinzino. I'm like, okay, I don't know him because Zinzino is my first company. And I've been building it for 15 years. But I find out that I hear his name all the time. I see his posts. I'm following. He is in Sven Gobel's downline, who is global president. So I've seen his name. I've followed along. And here recently, I did the interview with the company Truvi, who has now signed on. And it was through him that Truvi became a part of Zinzino, and what incredible people they are and that company. So I just said I wrote him and I said, can you be on the call? And I don't know our guest today. I didn't know him in advance. So I am going to be learning right along with you on this. We've had a very short conversation, but I am so excited. Now think of this. This is a guy who has been doing direct sales for 34 years. He's been in 4 other companies. He has been building to be one of the top in his companies. And here he is in Zinzino. So what has he learned? What has he been doing? How has he been doing all of this recruiting to grow? in his only 2.5 years in Zinzino. So I want you to really say a warm Zinzino Wednesday greeting here to our guest today, Black Crown, Danny Wanzeele. And I think I said it
Correctly.
right.
Really good.
Danny, it is exciting to have you on. When somebody has been in direct sales, I mean, I feel like when people understand what direct sales really is, Art Jonak has that picture and a quote that says, if you understand passive income, you're going to walk through a brick wall to get it. When people understand direct sales, they know it can work. They know you are building up legacy income that you can pass down to family. You really understand it. But now your story started 34 years ago and you've been through 4 companies. That doesn't sound like a great background in things. It's like, okay, things are shutting down or you had to go to different companies. Could you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and how you got started in direct sales?
Wow, that could be a long story actually.
Okay,
Because,
well, let's try a short version of it then, because we still want to hear it.
No. Well, actually, let's say that I was a school dropout because I didn't give any importance to school at all. I didn't like it. I wanted to be a professional football soccer player. And I was living in a bachelor studio from home in the week to train, go to school, and combine those two to do my passion, which was soccer, football. But then, I also fell in love with music. And at the age of 16, 17, early on, I already became a DJ and I started to play in nightclubs. My parents were not aware of that at all. They thought I was at school. And, playing in nightclubs and then, all night and then going to school and then having to go to practice, that wasn't the best of combinations. So I ended up one day, my father saying, I'm going to stop sponsoring your nightlife. If you want to continue to study because you don't seem to get a degree anyway, go to work and pay it yourself. And that was a wake-up call. So the fact that he did that with me, first it came in really hard. I'm a single kid at home, so I was spoiled. I got everything on top of that. But it made me look at things differently because I immediately fell into the hard way of living, underpaid job without a degree, and hating what I did. And I wouldn't say that I was looking for an opportunity immediately, because I was making money with football, more than on my job. I combined the two. But one day I got a phone call from a guy that met me only a couple of times before, briefly. We didn't even were friends. And he said something nobody ever taught in school to me. He said, I saw potential in you, Danny. I think I need to talk to you about something. And the fact that he didn't say that I was a loser like all my teachers, and that he said, I see potential in you, those words said, let's go and check it out. And that ended up to be the best decision I ever did, being a rebellion, not listening to anybody, not my parents. I got in trouble in the military. I got in trouble everywhere. But network marketing was there, perfect match for me. And that was now 34 years ago, 1992. And I started part-time.
Like everybody else?
Yeah, 4 months. And then I quit my job. And everybody thought I was crazy, because I was working for the government. Means in Europe, a secure job. They never fire you if you don't make a serious mistake. Your retirement, everything is covered. And because my dad had a career in the government, in the, how do you say it, financial services of the government, he said, you can work your way up like I did. And in the beginning, that sounded interesting until I found network marketing. And then they thought I went crazy again like I was a few years before. Because nobody understood what it was in 92. There was a few companies only around in Europe that people had heard of, the Avons and the Mary Kays and Amway, Herbalife, NSA, Juice Plus, those were the companies, but it wasn't like today that, 1,000 companies, every week you hear them. And back then, the concept of network marketing was like, nobody understood what it was. the American dream, they called it.
Well, right. And it kind of is because, it is that legacy income
Yeah.
if people build it, right? And they do the work that it takes to get there. Now, but why four different companies? What was the reasoning that you had to stop or start or go to somewhere else with these different companies?
Well, let's start with my first company. I fell really in love with my first company. My mentor there was Jim Rohn. I learned everything in life from him.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
So I had the luck. People say you were so lucky now that back then we didn't see it like that because he was the guy that trained us mentally, personal development. We were working with him on one-on-one basis in seminar. And I loved it because he was the guy that made the switch in my head from being how do you say it, living a happy life, doing everything I wanted to becoming more serious in life. And but I saw after 8 years in the company that the mentality shift was there. I saw a huge change in the approach, and I saw it not coming really well. And so there is something with me that I said it this week to somebody on a call. There's something with me that kills it. If I feel disgusted about something, it can never be repaired. And there happened something in that company that I felt so disgusted about that I said, am I going to go out every single morning, looking in the bathroom mirror, seeing myself, preparing myself, going to talk to people to recruit? Am I going to go out with the same belief when I know what I know? And that was impossible. And so the first company I left because I was disgusted about something that happened, and it worked against my belief systems. I believe in honesty, in trust. There's a couple of buzzwords that I really work with also in my trainings. It's honesty, it's trust, it's respect, and self-reflection. You need to question yourself from time to time. And that's what I did. And I always told the next company, I said the same, if you ever ask me to lie to the distributors, to promote the thing, it's done. And I'm not going to do that. I want to feel, good about what I'm doing. I want to be respected. And later on, when you get kids, even more, you don't want to tell your kids you're doing something just for the money, but it's not right, like so many people do these days. I want to be proud of what I'm doing and my kids to be proud of what I'm doing. So I left the four companies actually all because of the same thing. A mentality shifts, an attitude shift, not being honest to the distributors. I saw it running in the wall, and I was unfortunately right with two of them. And then came Zinzino, and that was actually very unexpected. I wasn't looking for it.
Well, let's talk about that because
Yeah.
when I heard, I just assumed because I've interviewed Sven many times and know that he's been in the business about 35 years, and you said 34, and I'm like, oh well, you guys have followed along or done things together, and I find out that you guys have never done business together until Zinzino.
Correct.
You've known of Sven and Sven has known of you because you both have been on major stages. I know you have been bringing companies over to Belgium, where you're at. You have also spoke in front of tens of 20,000 people, even
Correct.
in like Russia and all over the world, United States, Russia, everywhere. So you knew of each other.
Yeah.
But you've stayed in touch, and I know you said that even for a while you were talking to Sven about coming to your previous company.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the approach. We always stayed really supportive and friendly. I have a how do you say it, an approach that trying to demolish somebody else's reputation or business or company to get him on board in yours doesn't work. There's many people doing that. But when Sven did a couple of things, and I do that on a daily basis with many people, I congratulate them when they change companies or they announce that they have something new. I like things. I react on social media. Some people I call. I have a long hit list that I follow up of people that I'm targeting since the day I joined. And those people are from the past. And building good relationships is key in our business, and keeping good relationships. It's because of that I am who I am and where I am today. You mentioned the people of Truvi. That
Yeah.
was because I kept a relationship for 20 years, and we only spoke once a year or every couple of years to each other. But the reputation was there. And as soon as I called Derek, the owner of Truvi, one of the co-founders, he knew that I'm an honest guy, that he can trust me, that I'm telling the truth. So let's talk and listen what he has to offer or what he has to say.
I think that's probably one of the most important things too. Something that I've learned is integrity is everything.
Absolutely.
Being honest and doing the right thing always,
Yeah.
whether people are watching or not, always doing the right thing so that people know that they can trust you. That is super important.
I say don't do anything to other people what you don't want they would do to yourself. So think about that before you do things. Reflect, think, and then act or act not, or say not. Because
You're right.
once the word is spoken, you cannot take it back. So
So you and Sven knew of each other, and you hadn't done any other business before. I know that you had talked to Sven maybe about wanting to bring him into your fourth company, and yet you got to a point where now he's contacting you.
Yeah.
Now you've done 4 other companies. So when he contacts you about Zinzino, are you like, another company? I don't know if I'm going to do another company.
not really.
Why did you say yes about Zinzino? What did you see in Zinzino?
Well, there were 2 other things. It wasn't just Zinzino because I didn't know Zinzino. Sven said to me, "Hey, Danny, when we were talking, he said, I took the decision. I went along with a company called Zinzino. To be honest, when he said the name Zinzino, I thought it was an Italian company because Zinzino, it sounds a little bit more South European than Nordic. So I thought it was
That's where the name did come from. I think Dorian's told us that that's where the name did come from.
Yeah, and I thought it was an Italian company. And I was thinking, oh my God, Italians, chaos, chaotic, drama. I don't need that in my life. The Italians, the thing. So I didn't even look into it. But a year later, it was a year later, I asked him, how are you going? And you man, how has it been? And he said, Danny, we're doing so good, so fantastic. And I said, I'm so happy.
You knew he was in Zinzino for a year. You could
Yeah.
have signed up a year earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, but were you doing another company and that's why?
I was a master distributor at another company. So I built the whole network of that other company. And I didn't feel like I needed to leave there the year before when Sven sold his company. And Sven didn't actually contact me at the same moment to say, hey, Danny, you come here, because he felt also Danny is doing pretty well. But then, like it happens, and that's why you need to still stay on track with everybody, a major shift happened in that company. And they started to act completely different than what we had done for 13 years, because I was 13 years working with the same people, very loyal, and then suddenly changed, and I didn't feel good anymore being there. And it was not that I was looking and he was pitching me. When he said, well, I'm so happy I went with Zinzino, and he didn't say, and not with you. And, like he could have said, blame me. And I said to him, well, I'm actually very lucky you did that too. And then he said, oh, what happened? And that's how we started to talk, that I felt things were changing so fast the last 3 months, that he said, well, maybe we should talk. And when I said, well, maybe we do, I think he was so happy that I said that he said, yeah, let's talk, let's get Orion involved.
Okay.
So that was the initiation.
So what did you think when you saw what Zinzino had? I mean, products, company, corporate.
Listen, it's a story on its own, actually, because as I was the master distributor at another company, well, I didn't want to fly to Norway because I've been to so many countries around the world and built in so many countries that it's unbelievable. But even when I travel with my kids and my wife, and we're going to Bali next week, everywhere I land, in any airport in the world, I run into people that know me, that has seen me. And I didn't want to do that because they would ask, today with social media, somebody would have posted, I saw Danny on the airport in Oslo. What is he doing in Oslo? People start to think about it. So Sven said to me, listen, I understand your situation. You want to keep this silent. Let's talk with an open book, but, under full disclosure. Why don't you fly to me? Why don't you come and see me in Switzerland where I live, to my house? With Audrey here, you're safe. Nobody's going to see us. Come and talk here. And Orion will be here too. So I flew to Sven's house. I flew actually to Zurich, and I went then to Luzern in Switzerland to Sven's house. And we spent 2 days together with Orion, being there too and going through all the things. That's the first time I actually heard about the products, the concept, because even before, when Sven talked to me, I didn't look into it. I just wanted to have an open mind, not prejudged mind. So I went and I heard the first thing, everything about Zinzino and the company. I didn't even knew the comp plan when I went. I didn't look in, and I love comp plans and numbers. So, and then I met Orion at Sven's house. We had dinner, we had lunch, we had a lot of hours of talking. And, there's so many things looking back at it, why when I talk about due diligence, I love Zinzino. There's an external factor as well, which is my wife, because she tried one of the products then afterwards, and she was in a severe depression. And the product had such an impact on her in such a short time that I knew this is the right company. But that was just product-wise. But there was also some things with Orion during the conversation that were completely different than what I used to be or do before. Most people, when they meet an owner or a leader, it's almost about the money, it's about the plan. What can we become? How much can we make? That wasn't my first question at all, because my history with the previous company, and there were some other things, I don't want to get into it, but my first thing was to look at how healthy is this company. So my first question to Orion was about accounting. I said to him, I would love to see the finances of the company, because if I'm going to work, I want to be paid. and he said, actually, I remember that Orion said, well, that's a strange question. That not a single leader has asked me about our accounting service, or are we in debt? How many loans do we have? They asked me how much money can make and how many bonuses they are going to get. And so mine was first checking. I didn't know the company was public. I hadn't looked in it. So if I would have done, I would have known the finances before. But Orion gave me like an overview of the company. He sent me the report. I got it on my phone immediately when we were eating sushi at Sven's house. And then I asked more and more questions, because to me it's more about potential and the positioning and the timing and the culture in the company than the products and the plan. I believe that every network marketing company has more or less good products. I think they have more or less a good plan, that pays. And we just need to build it. But then it comes also to potential. What is the potential of the company? And most people walk away from companies that are 20 years old because they say, oh my God, saturated, it's done. They have played the game already. Everybody's positioned. I didn't look at that at all. For me, I look at the stability of the company, the security, long term. I wouldn't join a new startup for $1 million today, to be honest. I need to be very careful the way I say it, but I say it mainly like that. I always say the same. I don't want to be part of somebody else's wet dream anymore, to create their own company without money. And there's so many new ones all the time, and 6 months later they are in trouble already. But people think that the easiest way is to say, oh, they're just gonna get started here. This is a brand new company. Get in, we're the first ones. If you only can recruit with that, you're not gonna build a big business, believe me. And that's what many do. They jump from company to company. But when I spoke with Orion, he did something not a single owner in a company had done ever with me. And I've been pitched, I've been offered money, I've been offered a lot to join companies and to switch companies. When I asked him about potential and a few markets, how big they were, for example, United States, where I had contacts, because I was thinking in terms of potential and contacts. After 2-3 questions, he said, listen, Danny, we're going to make it very easy for you. And he said, he opened his iPhone, he opened his back office, and he said, here's my iPhone. You can look at anything you want. Just go through my iPhone, my downline, whatever you want to see, whatever you want to check out, the numbers, go through it. And I said to myself, is this a test? Does he say to me that I can look, but when I'm going to reach out with my hand, he's going to take his phone back, joking, to see if I'm trusting him, like a game? Or am I going to take the phone and he's going to give it anyway? And I said, I came to a stage where I was, let down by my previous company. They owe me a lot of money. And I said, well, I want to see the reality. So I took the phone and I looked at the numbers, and I saw the number of active distributors 2.5 years ago. So 2.5 years ago, 30 months ago, I saw active distributors, so people with subscription. And I saw the number. I said to Orion, there's a mistake in your spreadsheet, I believe. And he said, oh, what is the mistake? I said, well, I see here the number of active distributors worldwide. I said, that can't be true. And he said, what do you mean? Well, I say it's like 20,281 or something like that, active distributors. And he said, yeah, that's about correct. And I looked like stupid. I said, previous company I was in had 2.5 million distributors. And they didn't exist 20 years. I said, how is that possible?
Wow.
20,000 distributors doing such a turnover, such a result. And he said, correct. And like now, when I'm telling it, my hair came straight. And I said, potential. All the businesses I built before had double, quadruple, 5, 10 times the amount of distributors there were in Zinzino at that time. And I said, I saw the potential. And that was already the decisive, let's say, data I got. And then came the story with my wife on the Viva Plus products, being in a depression. And yeah, it fit. It just melted together like a puzzle. The pieces fitted. And then we went for it and we took the decision to go for it.
I love that. It gives me chills to hear that story of somebody who has that experience and knowing the potential of Zinzino. Potential is huge in Zinzino, and we see it. We know with Orion's what his vision is between him and Dog at our CEO, their vision of where they want to go, getting to the 1 million customers. We don't even have, you just talked about how many millions. We don't even have 1 million customer partner total yet. We're getting there. We're that close, right? But we're getting there, and then we're going to go on to get 10, 20 million, and then 100 million at 2050. So we know the potential of people. So that just means if we know the potential, we know your story, we need to be, we need more people to help us with that and sponsoring. And I think, I was new as a distributor to this company. I didn't have any capacity of knowing what to do for sponsoring, what to do, how to sponsor, who to sponsor type thing. And I know we've been just listening to you and your mindset, learning from Jim Rohn himself, which is like the father of direct sales. So anybody who wants to know anymore, just listen to him. Just go back and listen to everything about him. He's incredible. But learning from that, you have done certain trainings on the mindset of recruiting, because that's what we need. We need more people in our teams. People want to build this, and yet they get a little paralyzed when they're contacting people and what to do and how to do it. It's like, we know that we need to be sponsoring and helping people duplicate the fast start system and helping them get more customers and partners, but yet there's like a block somehow, right? Yeah. So tell me what you are training in regards to this mindset of recruiting.
Well, first of all, it's also based on what I call the odds in your favor in Zinzino. And the data we get, because the thing that Orion said, I want to test 1.5 to 2% of each population in each country. Now, in network marketing, there's so much hype, there's so much outspoken, crazy targets that I thought to myself, that's not that crazy. 1.5. Most would say 5 to 10% and 20% we're going to test, and that's maybe out of proportion if you really know how testing runs, because even I say it in my trainings, even in epidemiology, they only test 1.5 to 2% of a certain group to have data enough that is representative. So what Orion is doing makes sense. It's not a hype, it's serious. And then when you think on what they have done so far, because I went to dig into the numbers, I love numbers. I saw that there's only 2 countries where they reached that so far. 3 are close and the rest is nowhere. So I said, if we want to, in the next 10, 15 years, because we're testing since 2012, you know that, you were in, I wasn't. But Zinzino started to test people 2012, before it was a coffee company. Well, if you see in 15 years what they've done, well, I say we need 100,000 millions of partners for the next 10 to 15 years if we want to reach those targets in all the countries we're going to be working in. Because we're in 51 countries, and in most of the countries, the data is how many people did we test over the population? 0.0.0.02 or something. So it's ridiculous. So you know that you need so many people to go after, and then it's about, you know, fixing the mindset. I believe that when you recruit, and I was a recruiter from day one, people need to reframe the game. You know, for me, it's simple. Customers buy, leaders build. That everybody understands. A customer is somebody who buys a product and use it, and a leader is going to build a team. But most distributors believe that recruiting is pushy and that building customers is the easy way. It's clean and safe. You know, I don't push, I don't come over aggressive. So you need to reframe it, actually. You need to reframe it in your mind that, you know, customers is a linear income. You know, and we don't want linear income. We want residual income. That's what leaders and networkers do. So for me, customer building is a job and team building is a business. So if you want to have a job, create customers. If you want to build a business, you need to build a network. And people should ask different questions. You know, I had this with 2 of the teams that are in my downline. They are easy in customer building. They make so easy the test, the oil. It's like unbelievable. But when it comes to recruiting, somewhere they get stuck, and it's because they question themselves all the time. How can I sell more? How can I get more people on the products? Well, train them to ask, who do I know who would benefit from doing this too? Not just using it, doing it too. Because if it's that easy to ask somebody to test and to test people, you know, you should ask more people, would you mind giving me a hand and doing this too? And normalize a recruiting as a service, not selling. You know, for me, recruiting is, you know, many people resist recruiting because they associate it with pressure, rejection, ego, arrogance, aggressivity. I reframe recruiting as spotting talent. It's America Got Talent. It's The Voice, you know. Come and show what you are. Everybody is equal here. I didn't have any degree. I was a loser, but I was treated equal when I joined network marketing than an engineer. And then we're offering an opportunity. We're sharing options. So what you are doing is spotting talent. And you need to reframe it, and you need to change the mindset of people. Because if you would see my office, it's full with affirmations. So when I'm in the morning, I come into my office, I see positive words, you know, affirmations. And I have, like, even my wife writes it down on these little cards here, daily declarations. So I can read this every single day. I don't need to open my computer. And we know it's about the mind. Because whatever you put in the mind is going to multiply. You know, the mind doesn't understand what you tell it to not do. It only understands what you tell it to do. Now, people might think, and I do this in trainings, people might think, what do you mean with that? Well, if you say you can't do that or you shouldn't do that, the mind doesn't capture that. It only understands clear instructions, what to do. If I tell everybody here on the call today not to think about the pink elephant, not to think about a pink elephant, you were all thinking on a pink elephant. And so you need to give your mind other vitamins, other nutrition, other info that what you can do. So I teach my people to look at types also of people. When you're recruiting, you know, it's about, I call it alert living over the years. And sometimes it's really not, how do you say it, not a good thing for my family and my friends when I'm sometimes with them, because I'm always like with these antennas listening what's happening around me as well. If I can't catch a conversation that is about health, if I can't catch a conversation that is about success, oh this is prospecting, prospecting without prospecting. But I think it's old school prospecting today. What I see the mindset is you need to go out and make sure you're gonna win. So when I go to see somebody, I already say he's in. I don't think or question myself, would he be open? Would he be doing it? For me, it's a done deal. Now, does it happen all the time? No, of course not. But over the 34 years, my odds and my potential has enormous increased. When I go out, I prepare myself mentally. When I talk to people, I prepare myself mentally saying, he's going to be in. He's going to be a partner of me. So it's all about programming yourself, because people, they don't just listen to you. They observe you, they read you, they feel you. It's about vibration. It's about frequency. It's about energy. It's about, looking in each other's eyes and having that click when you haven't said a word. So you need to be prepared and you need to be real. So the mindset to me is like, I use it sometimes, most people here, not the youngsters, but most people here still knew a VHS recorder in the time, a cassette recorder, to see movies. We went to rent movies, we didn't have pay TV. And then came the DVDs and but when it were cassette discs, I have two kids that are now 25 and 22, besides a 4-year-old. But when I was a single dad and doing my network marketing business, when they were with me during the week I had them, week over week, we used to watch movies in the evening. And my girl wants to see Cinderella and Snow White and, all these girly movies. My son wanted to see Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, everything with action. And I knew in the middle I could never win, because whatever I choose, I'm going to be disappointing the other one. But if we put in the cassette recorder the movie of Spider-Man, what are we going to see on the television? Cinderella? No, it's going to be Spider-Man when we put the cassette in. Is it possible that in any way, if I put Spider-Man in, we're going to see Superman? No, unless somebody plays a trick on us. But it's the same in your head. When you go out and for recruiting and prospecting and you put that cassette in, that's what people see. So when people are negative or they question themselves and they go out and they haven't changed their mindset yet and their cassette, people are going to read it. That's what appears on the screen, your eyes, your face, your energy. So that's why I tell people the preparation of prospecting and inviting and the mental preparation is the most important thing. You wouldn't believe if I tell you that a day and a half ago, my mother got a brain stroke. She's in hospital in emergency. So I canceled one meeting yesterday because I had to go. The doctor asked me to come to the hospital. But since then, I have been on the phone. My father was here today. She's going to recover. She's already better. She was a little bit paralyzed. But, that hasn't stopped me from doing what I do. Yes, I'm thinking about my mother. Of course, I love her. But it's about the mind. How strong have you become over the 34 years also doing network marketing? And that's also I want to say to people. It's a life lesson. It's so much more than just a business, working with people. And, I thank God. I'm not religious, by the way. I'm not really into religion. But I believe there's something bigger than us that guides us at the right moment. And that happened with Zinzino. And I've tried to be that person at the right moment for many people I want to recruit, because life changes on us. 5 years ago, if Sven would have talked to me about Zinzino, I would have laughed. I would have said, forget it, man. I'm good where I am. But then 2.5 years ago, nobody would have guessed it. I flew to Switzerland, talked with Orion and Sven, and I ended up being at convention. My first ever meeting in Zinzino was the convention in 2023. That was my first presentation. So I think to be honest, in Zinzino, when I ended up in the convention, some people looked at me and they said, is that Danny? No, we're mistaken, because they couldn't believe I appeared in convention as a spectator, sitting in the back. So the mindset for me is to train your people about the mind. Orion talks a lot about book reading. I had so many books and so many things I did over the years. And then I had a period I couldn't take a book anymore. I couldn't take a book. It just didn't get in. I was only reading books when I was traveling. But, the systems are there. Zinzino, the system works. You don't need to reinvent marketing. What Zinzino has prepared today is fantastic. I never saw that in any company before. And that's not just because I'm in Zinzino. I only discovered it along the road myself. But the preparation of 20 years shown, the stability of the company, the foundation that Urian and Hilde built, and Dag with his team, is unseen. Now, people will not get that far if they don't ask the right question or don't get the right vibe from you, the right information from you. And that's where mindset becomes really important.
So let's talk a little bit about, because I know like when we started this conversation, you talked about, the being able to trust people, the integrity. You had also respected Sven at the time,
Yeah.
but you were able to, when you talked to him, both of you known. I mean, if you would have found Zinzino first, Sven would have been listening to you because you guys had that respect for each other. So I think that part of things is important to be the person
Yeah.
that is of a person of integrity at all times. I
Yeah.
think that's an important thing.
Key.
But how do you start to change the mentality, whether it's a new person or not? Because sometimes the new person is a little scared to talk to people. And other times we've got people that are on here for, have been partners for 10, 20, 30, well, maybe not 30 years because you haven't been in here, but you've been in 30 years, but maybe in Zinzino 5, 10 years. And they're like, now what? How do I continue? I've used up contacts. Where do I go from here? How can I be sponsoring? Because Orion says if you just sponsor 10 a year, you're going to build to president sooner or later. You just need to keep recruiting and duplicating the system, helping people become customers or partners, and just follow the Fast Start program. But what things can you be doing? How do you get that mindset to be able to contact people? Do you have certain, you talked about listening or books? Are there certain things that you're reading or listening? Is it certain things that you're listening to? Is it just getting out there and talking? Or what is it that's going to change getting it? Like, what do you tell people? What do you do to get that mindset?
Well, there's two things. For me, there's a difference between the real conversation or the invitation. And I get back a lot to Jim Rohn because, also, and I need to mention also when it comes to marketing, was also Larry Thompson. And many might not have heard of Larry Thompson, but I loved Larry Thompson, his millionaires trainings, which put your mind on the dreaming aspect, seeing big. But it's also taking away limitations of people, the limiting beliefs of people. Because, people come from where they come. You don't know where they are today, what they have been, what is the potential. So there is a lot of limiting beliefs. And you need to take that away mainly by action, by working with them, before the conversation. So for me, it's about the invitation is a technique. I teach my people how to invite, what to say, only what to say, and that's like 2 minutes. The more you say, you lose it already because it's not a presentation, it's an invitation.
Okay. So now we're going to go down into detail of that. So once you have somebody, as you said, getting that mindset, being that person, first of all, and then, no, I'm going to be looking up Larry Thompson, but about the vision, about because when people start to have a dream, they say that when why you're doing something, the how-tos will come, right? So I think having your dream, knowing what you want to build, and then being able to do it. And of course, we need to give presentations and follow up with people and then help them become customers or partners. But what you just said, okay, let's go through each of those. Contacting. So what are you saying? You're saying you don't want to say too much. What are you teaching your team if you're going to be able to share it with us? What do you teach your team how they're going to invite?
Well, I started like everybody else. Make a name list of 100 and 150 people, pick up your phone, start calling. Nobody told me what to say. Well, the first one told me something to say, which was so ridiculous that everybody started to laugh on the phone. And then they started to ask me questions and I had to tell anyway what it was about. And I was already saying too much, but it was in a time where they didn't have internet and they couldn't go and investigate the name of the company immediately and fall into the products. That wasn't there. There were no mobile phones, there were no internet. Today, when you drop Zinzino, they know. When you say balance tests, omega-6 3, they find out immediately what it's about. So as when you say that, and it depends, of course, who it is you're talking to, because there's levels of prospects, experienced ones, people that don't. It's about 4 things. For me, an invitation is you're in a hurry. I'm in a rush. I only have a minute to talk. Second thing, I do a compliment to you. I say something really nice. Oh my God, your hair is looking great today. Did you just go to the hairdresser? Or, oh, you had so much energy on the tennis court last week when we met, final in the club. So I say something positive, because what happens is when you say to people, I only have a minute, they say, oh, I can listen. Danny's not going to talk 20 minutes. So I don't have to cut him. So they're open to listen. When you say, something positive, people connect with you. Now they're ready to absorb what you're going to say, because they don't get complimented too much, anywhere. So, and then I do the invitation. And then there's 3 possible ways I do the invitation. Directly, I say, I have something for you. You told me the other day you might look for a change in career. I have something for you. And then when they ask me, oh, yeah, I told that. What is it about? Well, I'm in a hurry. I really need to go, but are you free Tuesday evening, 8:30? That's the confirmation, the invitation and the confirmation. If I don't go directly, I ask for help. I said, listen, Carla, I really would like your opinion or your advice or your point of view on things. And they say, oh, happy to help, because people think, oh my God, Danny judges my opinion as a valuable thing. He wants to see what I think about it. So, and then I invite them as well. The confirmation is again Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And then the third one is is the one I use most with heavy hitters, with people with experience. It's about an ego thing. People have been somewhere, they have made money. There's always this competition, this battle. So when it's about the third way of inviting people, I say, listen, Carla, this is not for you, but I am thinking if you could help me out finding the right person that could help me. So I'm actually using you as a headhunter. So Carla knows now that she's not going to have to take money out of her pocket. I'm going to sell her nothing, because I said it's not for you. She's on the safe zone. The fact that I ask you, would you mind helping me out, directing me to one of the people you might know with the right profile? So the headhunting thing, the spotting talent. And of course you want to do that because, and then comes the question, yeah, but Danny, before I point you out to somebody, I might know somebody for you, but what is it about? Because I need to know first what it is about. And that's where I say, let's get together Tuesday or get you in a presentation on a Zoom. And that's my conversion. And this is the one I use the most, because it's very difficult immediately to start talking to people on the phone. When I contacted the people that are now in my business, I never spoke in depth the first call. We always set the call up. I learned from Zimmerone is you make the appointment. I have many friends when I go see football or soccer in the weekend with friends and we have a few beers. Sometimes they ask me, hey man, I saw you were in Qatar. This business of you must be reeling. Explain me that. In the bar, I said, listen guys, I'm here to see football and have a drink. If you want to talk business with me, make an appointment. We're not going to do that in the bar. So it's all about creating the right environment. And I like to recruit. I haven't recruited that many yet in Zinzino. I'm now 2 years in the business and a half. I think I signed up 45 people in total. 45.
You've also said to me that you weren't going to take your teams from the other company.
I started from zero.
Start from zero. Yep.
Yeah. So
I think that shows integrity also in my book, that it isn't, I'm going to just take over my team from before.
Well, if they would follow, because I built them where I was and we became friends and there is a relationship, if they would love to come to Zinzino and they would follow, they're open to come, but I'm not going to try to attack them. They need to come. You know, I had a couple of conversations with trustworthy people that I consider really friends, but they were scared to move. And I felt from the first 3-4 calls, my wife and myself, we said, no, we need to do it different. We need to leave what was there, build results first. And if they want to come later on, they will join. We're going to inform them what we're going to do and why we're going to do it. Not, going into details. And that should be sufficient. And then we went completely after new people. We went after people new And we went after people that I knew from my past, but I say 10, 15, 20 years ago. You know, Derek from Truvi, we knew each other between 2007 and 2010. After 2010, we hadn't spoken anymore. So that's 15 years in between. But we send each other Happy New Year, happy birthday. Hope your business is doing well. He was publishing things on Truvi. I liked it. Sometimes I gave comments. Hey, man, looks like you're having a good thing going. Keep going. People love that. And then when the timing is right and you haven't tried to strangle them with your opportunity, they are going to listen. Now, do you lose some because you weren't direct enough? Of course. I lost a few big ones recently because I wanted to give them a few days to recover from the bad news they got. And I'm talking about Moder, for example. You know, when Moder closed the doors, I knew pretty good people there. But I said, man, this is such a drama for these people. Let's give them 2-3 days and then I'm going to talk to somebody. Well, I was too late. They were already in Zinzino. Because somebody didn't think about the emotional aspect and went for them and got them immediately. So I said, oh my God, maybe in the next time I need to be a less diplomatic. But no, you are who you are. So I think it's really about people's building people. I can tell you honestly that you can go on the internet, type in my name. You can ask anybody. You will find not a single person on this planet that will talk negative about me being involved in a company, network marketing, and what we did together. And I think it's about that because many people leave some things behind in not a nice way. I did it in a very clean way. I went to a convention, the first convention of Zinzino with my wife and my baby. He was not even 2 years old then. And with 7 people because I didn't want it to go alone. So I invited 7 people for the business. And those people didn't know Zinzino and hadn't worked with me before. So it's all about doing the work and then follow up. For me, it's I have a full training system that is based on the years of experience.
Hang on. I want to go before follow up.
Yeah.
Invite. What about the presentation part? What about presenting? What are you doing for presenting when people come on?
Yeah. We have established together with Sven, but he comes from where I come, old school network marketing. We used to do Tuesday, Thursdays, Saturdays. So Tuesday, Thursdays were presentations, depending on which city, which hotel used to be. And Saturday mornings were onboarding trainings. All the new distributors that started in the week, they came to the Saturday training. I keep that, but we do it with Zoom now. So we have a Tuesday evening business presentation. We have a Thursday evening product presentation or training, only for people that want to hear about product, not about business. And then Saturday mornings, we have fast start training and onboarding training. Start the process. And during those trainings, we teach them systems also. Because I was very lucky and fortunate to have no idea what network marketing was when I started and to only learn the basics. But I was also very lucky that when I brought people to presentation, there was an expert standing there who knew what he was talking about and doing a great job. So my role the first 6 months in business was bringing people. I was the taxi driver, fill up my car, go to Antwerp or go to Brussels for the meeting. After them, put them back on, do the talking. But all the hard work, the presentation about the industry, the products, the compensation plan was done by somebody else. I had no idea. I couldn't do it. I wasn't the speaker.
So now I know Sven has told this too, which I think is just fantastic. So you have the business on Tuesdays. And if you have any prospects, let's say you just met somebody on an airplane or you sat, in an Uber or whatever it was, and you found that need, you booked as you had already just said. Sometimes you find the need, however it is. Now, if it's a big name, you might put a one-on-one with somebody else. You might do a Sven or something. But if it was just a regular person, do you put them on the group Zoom that you do on Tuesdays for business and Thursdays for product?
Yeah.
And just follow that system. Okay. Yeah. That makes it easy. Everybody can do that. So
yeah. It's a duplicate. If not everybody can do it, you don't need to do it. That's what Jim Rohn teaches us.
I love that. Okay, so everybody can do that.
And also, Carla, when you're talking about presentation, because you asked about presentations, is you have a time to learn and absorb everything. That's why we have people doing it, systems. But you need to be doing it yourself as fast as you can, because something else I learned very rapidly is that the ones who does the presentation runs the business, controls the business. If you don't run your own presentation, it's not your business. It's your sponsor's business. It's your upline business. Because if they leave on a holiday and you have nobody to present, the business stops. So you need to be in charge of your own presentations as fast as you can, or what we do, integrate speakers into your speaker circuit that can do parts. So as soon as somebody feels comfortable, we let them present the proper product. If somebody feels comfortable, we let them present the test. So that like I learned, bits by bit, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because you want your people to do their own presentations at the end or be capable of doing them.
And then you're showing at the presentations what it's about, and do you do some stories, and how is it a half hour? What
It's an hour. We do an hour presentations, which I know is long, but just as a fact, if I have some AI presentations recorded and I can do the whole presentation, test industry product in less than 15 minutes, and the compensation plan in less than 15 minutes. So normally, if we stay to the routine and it's about 30 minutes, but you know, people come in late, you have some prospects that you are aware of, you say a little bit more about this, so we are between 45, 50 minutes for a presentation.
Wonderful.
But I also say if people don't have 45 minutes to listen to something that might change their future, and which they said they would be interested in, you know, changing career, are they the right prospect? We're not, when you do short presentations, I think you're attracting more curious people than serious people. If your presentation is 1 hour and they want to stick in and want to find out, and afterwards they want to have a follow-up, that means they're serious. The only question I asked when I went to my first presentation ever, I was invited in Brussels, by the way, in a presentation. And when I found out, sitting in the room with 200 people, they started to speak French. I didn't know French at that time. And I said to my sponsor, I said, this is in French. He said, yeah. I said, I don't speak French. He said, me neither. So we were two idiots sitting there in a presentation. We didn't understand the word. There was a flip chart in the front, and one top guy was doing the drawings, the circles and the arrows. And then he wrote the amount of money he was making. And I understood that from afar. And,
Okay.
the only question after the meeting that I asked, because I thought first, like many people, this was a setup. They were actors, you know, to get people involved. But I went to him and I asked one question. I said, is that really the money you're making on a monthly basis? Can you show that to me? Prove it. He said, yeah. If you come to my office tomorrow, I'll show you my income check. It were checked. I said, okay, can you teach me how to make that kind of money? And he said, yeah, under one condition. What I teach you and what I tell you to do, you're going to do it. I say, yeah, that's simple. Come tomorrow to my office. I canceled my job. I took free. I called sick for my job. And I went to Brussels to see the guy. And that's the day I joined network marketing.
Wow.
So it's not about complication. It's about also the hunger that people have. When I understood what it was and what it could become, I became very hungry. You know, I was really hungry about the opportunity.
Wow. Okay, well, we've only got a couple minutes here, and we got to get through both follow-up and the last question here. So now we've talked about your invitations, the presentations. You said another important thing is our follow-up. So follow-up. I'll let you start.
Follow-up comes from employ yourself. The most difficult thing is when you get involved in network marketing, it's up to you. There is no boss who tells you what to do. They don't control you. They don't check up on you if you've done it. So you need to do all those things. And I understood that, because after 4 months, I quit my job and I had this luxury. I could stay in bed long. I didn't need to wake up at 4 in the morning anymore. But then you fall into the trap of comfort very rapidly. So I created my own way of controlling myself, you know, checking the numbers. I learned a part from Jim Rohn as well, who said, listen, Danny, when he did a follow-up call, you know, you don't need to explain me your cat died or, you know, whatever. I just want a number. How many people did you call today? A number is very easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not a story. And I understood I need to create something in my own system to control myself, to check up on myself. And if I'm looking here and I have these documents made for my teams that which they use and we train them on, is I have here my hit list. I call it my hit list here. You know, you see? These are all, I'm now following like 130 people that I'm following since almost 2 years. And from time to time, I call them back, and I work with all style. You know, yellow is tomorrow. You know, my day promoting tomorrow. Which are the yellow ones? Blue can wait a little bit more, but don't forget, because he might be, last call we had was strange. He said, maybe he's going to change company. So the follow-up is really chasing, headhunting people that were on your list, because somebody that said no 3 years ago might say yes tomorrow. Look at me.
Look at yourself. You were the best example of that.
Yeah. So the system is, after a presentation, you need to do the follow-up when people came, but also when people didn't come, or when people said no, not interested, I'm still making a gazillion way of money elsewhere. I'm very happy for them. I said, I'll be back in 3 months. And they say, yeah, you don't need to call me in 3 months. I'm still going to be, I said, well, I'm going to say hello then in 3 or 6 months. But they're on my list, and I keep following them. Are there some of the people that slipped through the maze? Of course, you know, of course. But mainly I keep talking to them, and I know one day they might be open because I was open. So,
Right.
and then you have to do the numbers. Huh? It's no secret, you know, it's a numbers game.
Right.
But the numbers here, the odds are in favor of Zinzino. For me, Zinzino, and if I could finish, because you're saying we only have a minute.
We
if I
got,
could,
we've got the last minute here, and I do want to finish with that, and I'm hoping you're going to have that same, is where do you see Zinzino in the future? What do you see for yourself and for Zinzino of the vision of the future?
Well, Zinzino is the test-based company. They are going to be known all over the world for home testing. There is no question about that. You know, we use a lot of McDonald's in our franchising, in our trainings, McDonald's, because, you know, you mentioned something earlier. Build it and people will come. You know that movie Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner? If you build it, they will come. I believe we're building it and people will come to Zinzino. And COVID helped us. You know, it's not a scary thing to remember, but before COVID, I'm not vaccinated. Before COVID, I never went for a checkup. I'm healthy, touch wood. But because I wanted to keep traveling during COVID, I had to do these tests all the time. And the test center is 100 meters from my house. I did 150 tests in 2 years to keep doing my business. At the end, it didn't feel uncomfortable anymore. It was a routine like getting on the bus. Well, when I did the test with Zinzino and I understood the importance, I say, my God, everybody's going to be able to do this in the future without going to the doctor and 2 tubes of blood, a big needle in their arm. They're going to be able to check out everything themselves. You know, privacy-wise, they're going to be able to have a report to read it. Zinzino has the weapons. You know, we just need to build it. Like the people come to McDonald's for the hamburgers because they know when McDonald's sign is there, you can get a hamburger. Well, when people know you're doing Zinzino, in the little village you're living, they know they can get a test from you. You will be the one. And those tests will be like the Coca-Cola in the fridge or in the closet at people's houses. They will have in the future a reserve test for when it's needed. I believe in that. I see that vision, and we're going to do that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited that you're on board in Zinzino, and with all of that experience and passing that on to us, I think we all need to get out there and do some more recruiting just to help more people. So Danny, thank you for taking the time to come on. Thank you for all
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, and I'm going to let everybody unmute here so that they can say thank you also. So thank you all for joining, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Danny.
It was my pleasure.
Danny.
See some of you in Bali.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Nice to listen. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Danny. Fantastic.
Carla.
Thank you in Bali.
Thank you,
With the
Danny.
Road
Nice
Runner
to meet you.
flight.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Carla.
Hi, everybody.